Hi, this is a quote that I once made, and I was asked to further comment on this, and so I'm going to read to you this quote. As we begin to recognize and experience our oneness with Earth, we will realize our true status and utilize the secret knowledge that made the ancient civilizations so great. Their mind technologies were far more advanced than our modern technologies. They knew how to construct and materialize anything through mere thought. The irony is that we were these ancients, but we also have no or only little conscious memory of that. Yet gradually we are beginning to get glimpses of the true nature of things. And so when I wrote this, I only recalled certain memories from my own past life experiences during the Atlantean and Lemurian civilizations, dating back at least 25,000 to 50,000 years ago. And so some of the memories that I had was that healing was not something that was very difficult. We could put people into certain chambers where they would go in and they come out completely rejuvenated. That is something that also I'm reminded of having learned about 30 years ago from a French scientist who constructed a device and that was supported by great financiers who thought that this would be a great invention, where people would go into these machine, like construct very, very high, tall like little high chambers, where people would go in. They would have a certain disease like diabetes or arthritis or multiple sclerosis, and they would be completely regenerated because the machine would take them back to a time when there was no disease present. There was not even a trace or an inclination or tendency towards that disease. And so what this scientist did was basically recall information from a time where we had similar devices, these rejuvenation chambers. When this French scientist came very close to and demonstrate how effective this device was, pharmaceutical companies and some other very powerful people stopped the financial support. He was basically left without any money and any ability to further his invention. I recall that we had similar experiences during the Atlantean period, where scientists of a very, very high caliber were basically put to death through experimentations that had to do with DNA reconstruction, and eventually the entire continent basically self-destructed. But what I'm trying to say here is that the technologies that are available to us, they are not new technologies. In fact, they are still what we see on Earth today, very, very sort of middle-age type technologies compared to what we used to have before the Middle Ages ever happened. And so the Atlantean and Lemurian times gave us access to energies and information that were far, far more sophisticated than anything that we have seen on this planet at this time. And so, for example, I remember using crystals, tiny little quartz crystals that we would put in the palm of the hand and point them in any particular direction. If we wanted to travel somewhere, all we need to do is put that crystal in the hand, and we would point in a certain direction, and we would literally move in that direction at a very, very high speed. It would only work with intention. So our minds were extremely powerful, that when we used our mind in concert with certain devices, then these devices became very powerful in and of themselves, and we could use them in many, many different ways. We could use the same crystal technology to use it like a laser beam that could construct things, so that could carve out bits and pieces or blocks of stone that we could then use for construction purposes, such as carving out a ton or heavier piece of square, perfectly cut squares of rock, and build large buildings or things from like pyramids. And so without having to lift them with a crane, all we did is just point the crystals toward them and levitate them into the correct place, and then build these pyramids from. Likewise, there were certain temple-like structures constructed out of these materials. We could also slice them together so that would be basically indestructible. So there was no limit to any of the technologies that we employed at that time. So the ancients were not stupid at all. So what all this implies is that we are gradually remembering, little by little, some of the things, the computer technologies that are available to us today. They are just like rekindling the memories of what we once knew. And more and more people are born onto this planet that used to be in these ancient times, and they are starting to remember. So there will be a time, not before long, that we will have full memory, recall the memory of what we once knew in the ancient times on this planet. And when that happens, we will no longer be dependent on energy sources that need to be renewed, that will energy resources that can cause damage to this planet, but we will have access to free energy that is not just around us, but that is also within us, because whatever is outside of us is also within us. We will stop looking for the solutions to our problems outside us. We will find the solutions to all the problems within us, regardless whether this has to do with the physical body, or with environmental problems, with distorted weather patterns. Anything that is distorted outside of us is distorted because collectively, as our collective consciousness is also compromised by fixing that within us. And the more people do that, the more likely it will happen in the collective consciousness. We will see that reflected in the external appearances, the appearance of weather patterns, of environmental changes, and of resources becoming available to us without having to deplete them on our planet. But we will also be able to remove any contamination whether it is nuclear radiation related or whether it is because of garbage that is piling up on this planet. Regardless of the type of pollution, we will have access to ways to turn the molecules that are in these deposits of garbage and poisons and toxins that are in our environment, also in our bodies, will be able to basically turn these molecules into very beneficial molecules. After all molecules, regardless of whether they are forming chemicals like mercury or metals, harmful metals, toxic metals, plastics, whatever the medical drugs, they are after all just atoms, compositions of atoms, and atoms in and by themselves are not toxic. And so it's just a combination, the assemblage of molecules which turns something into a more adverse or constructive effect for the human body and the planet. And simply by altering the compositions, we will be able to clean up our planet fairly quickly. But all that requires that as a collective consciousness, we have reached a certain level of love, acceptance, compassion, and harmony that allows this to spread into the environment and to for these ancient technologies to become available once again. It is just a matter of time. It is impossible to predict when exactly this is going to happen, but I'm very confident that this will happen at least in my lifetime. And so I hope that this will give you a little bit of more insights into why history is not something that is just in the past, but history is something that we carry within us, and most people that are on this planet right now, they have already been there long before.